Welcome to the Boom Boom Room, y'all, where there's no topic too big or small, where we talk about it all. Hey everyone, welcome back to another episode of the Boom Boom Room. I'm with you here, Ashes, and I got Corey with me. It's a good one tonight, guys. He's a good friend of mine. He's a moderator for me, and we moderate on a channel too on YouTube. But he's had some wild encounters and supernatural encounters, and I'm real excited about having him on, to hear him. And but how are you doing, Corey, brother?
Oh man, I'm all right tonight, man. How you doing?
I'm doing good, doing good.
Yeah,
But
good.
yeah, but yeah, I know you was on the Cryptid podcast, man, and I apologize. I wanted to ask you, but my mind slipped, because that was a hell of a show, man. You had some interesting stuff go on, and
Uh,
and you
like I
probably
said, I
got
didn't
more.
even.
Yeah,
Yeah, I didn't even talk about all of it on that show
yeah,
because,
yeah,
like I was telling you earlier, he doesn't deal with the paranormal much, and I respect that.
yeah, yeah.
It's
Me too.
taboo to some people.
Yeah, yeah. I understand that too. But I respect the way he does his show, and but when I started this, I always wanted a platform for people just to sit and talk like they're sitting beside each other, drinking a beer or drinking a cup of coffee, shooting the shit, whatever's on their
Yeah.
mind, But yeah, man, if you want to get it started, wherever you want to. But hey, you want to tell people a little bit about yourself, where you from and stuff?
Yeah, man. My name's Corey, Louisiana boy, born and raised. Yeah, I mean, there's not much to me.
Yeah,
I just family, family. I'm
yeah,
all about family.
yeah,
And working on starting a YouTube channel. Not
sweet.
quite there yet. Um, you'll see a lot of this going on.
Yeah,
Um, Kind of handyman stuff, I guess you want to say how-to videos. But uh, yeah, I mean that's
yeah,
I'm a simple guy. You know,
yeah, yeah. I didn't mean to put you on the spot, but yeah, that
it's all
Louisiana,
good. Brother.
that Louisiana man, it's notorious for that. A lot of voodoo and
It's
especially
all that.
down in New
There's a lot
Orleans.
of
Yeah,
there's a lot going on down here, man, and it's a southern state, and you know how a lot of southern old timers, I guess you could say, are they don't talk about stuff,
yeah,
so you don't, you mention it in public, and you can tell the ones that have
yeah.
seen, they'll
Hmm.
and don't want to talk about, it, they'll avoid the conversation, but there's a lot more going on down here than people talk about. I believe, anyways,
Yeah.
in my experience.
Well, I know that before you start telling your story, I forgot to mention earlier. I've watched some people have encounters like around where you're at. Fort
Yeah,
Polk.
yeah, Kisatchie area, the
Yeah,
Kisatchie National Forest. There's a lot of encounters up there, and I got a buddy of mine. He's had an encounter up there. He
yeah,
had a Class B,
yeah,
and
yeah.
um,
Is it mostly dog man, or the ones I've heard has
uh,
been
so
dog man? But
so I heard a couple dogman encounters. I don't see them posted anywhere. I've looked for them and looked for them, but these
yeah,
were word of mouth
yeah,
from some soldiers from around Fort Polk.
yeah,
One was the main one I remember is the one they were bringing supplies out to the field,
yeah,
to the guys out there, and they were getting chased by a couple dogmen,
yeah,
and they were hitting the trucks, you
yeah,
know. But no, there's some Bigfoot out in Kisatchie.
yeah,
But they claim Bigfoot.
yeah,
There's a couple Class A's, but there's a lot of Class B's, and I mean, I think they could be Dogman too. You know, especially because if you look uh, at the old Rougarou, I mean, I know you've heard of the
yeah.
Rougarou.
Oh yeah,
Um, that originates from France, which was the Louparou.
hmm,
But when you come to Louisiana, the Cajun French is lazy, right? It's a
yeah,
lazy French. and the L turned into an R, so it became the rougarou. And if you look at medieval France and the stories from South Louisiana, they match up. So maybe it tagged along, you
Yeah.
know, because the rougarou was a shapeshifter, was a person that turned into a werewolf type creature, and they would they would shapeshift into the creature and out. But if they never told anybody, they would eventually stay in the form of the rougarou.
Yeah.
But if they told somebody, if they let somebody know what happened to them, the curse was lifted.
Yeah.
So I mean, and like you said, you got a lot of voodoo, and you also have hoodoo,
Yep.
which is
Yeah.
Haitian voodoo. Basically, I don't
Yeah.
don't
Yeah.
nobody get on to me about that. But so there's uh, a lot of those things down here, So it could very well be Dogman
Yeah.
or Rougarou mistaken as Dogman.
Yeah. I know that story you're talking about the soldiers. I'm 99% sure I heard it on Vic's show, Dogman Encounters. That's where I heard it.
Okay.
The whole story. I think the guy came on there. Now, I don't know what episode, because, man, he's got a lot of episodes.
Yeah.
And I think I think I've listened to every one of them. But when you talk about the Rougarou, I done a while back when I done on Whispers Across America on that episode,
Yeah. I came
Louisiana.
in.
Yeah.
I came in the chat with the live premiere. Yeah.
Yeah, and that talked about it. You got to tell someone or you'll stay in the form.
Mm-hmm.
But I believe that different cultures, I think they're all the same thing. It's just the different cultures got their what would their
I do
explanation
too.
for it.
I do too. The same. I mean, it goes along the same lines as the First Nations and Native Americans having different names for Bigfoot.
Yeah.
They're the same thing. It's just a different name.
Yep. Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly. But what got you going down the paranormal rabbit hole? How long
Well,
ago?
I mean, it's been off and on my whole life,
Yeah.
but here lately, when you mention it to people, you get more stories. So I just started in my free time looking into it more. Like I've had my experiences and stuff, but when I was young, I didn't have time to go looking around and
Yeah.
researching. But now I'm a little older and I got a little free time that I don't go out and party.
Yeah.
So I started researching a little more, man, and you start finding this community of everybody, and man, they want to hear your stories and they don't judge you about them,
Yeah. Yeah.
and
Yeah, that's what kind
but
of
it's
sucks, man. I didn't mean to interrupt you, but
oh no, you're good.
you tell somebody, a relative or somebody, and they just, laugh at you, think you're crazy or whatever. And but that's what's good about the community. I've met so many, great people, including yourself, and they don't judge. You know what I mean? And they don't judge at all. That's what's cool about this community.
Yeah.
You know.
Well, then you think about it, man. Like my encounters, what I've seen and what I've heard weren't supposed to be real.
Yeah.
So how can you telling me a story be false?
Yeah.
I wasn't there to see it, but I know what I've seen, and like it was supposed to not exist. It's not, none of this. It's not supposed to be real. You're taught your whole life. Oh,
Yeah.
that's fairy tales. That's what mothers tell their kids to keep them in line, or. But
Yeah.
then you see this in real life, and you know what you've seen. Especially when you have multiple encounters.
Yeah. Yeah. Exactly. But do you think that? I mean, why? What have you ever thought about why you see these encounters or do these things happen? Do you ever say, man, why does this?
Um, I think I'm just more open
Yeah.
to it. You know, I'm more. I'm not saying I'm more susceptible to it,
Yeah.
but my mindset is anything's possible. Like
Uh-huh.
this. You go back in ancient texts of all kind of civilizations, and they've got all these cryptids and paranormals. And so, why would these stories have lasted so long if they're not possible?
Yeah.
You know. So I think me just being more open to the possibility is the reason I've had the encounters I've had.
Yeah. I always say there's always a little truth in a lie, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
And
Yep.
but you know, I've had I guess supernatural stuff happen to me my whole life. And me personally, I don't know if it's because I'm a Christian, I live for the Lord, or I just, that's what I always thought for a while. But then again, I just think that, a person's more open, or it's just something that's, I really, it's got to be something. I don't know if it's something to do with your blood or your spirit or what, but, not
I,
everybody, it happens to
like you said,
everybody.
it's. I think it's more open minded and intent.
Yeah,
If whether no matter what religion you are,
yeah,
intent matters.
yeah,
If you invoke the name of the Lord, it's your intent
uh-huh,
with invoking that name is what really matters.
yeah,
Um, so I think, like, so that I think spirituality might have a lot to do with it, but
yeah,
I think it's intent and openness. Because I mean, people that don't believe, I mean, they might see these things out of the corner of their eye, but like, oh, that was just a
yeah,
shadow or something.
yeah,
They blow it off like it was nothing.
yeah,
But some people, like you and I, we like to look more into it. Did I just see what I think I saw over there?
yeah, exactly. When something happens, like in my house, which was rare in this place I'm living in now, you know, uh, I go, I'll get a feeling, if it's demonic or evil, and that's when I go
Yeah,
into praying mode and rebuking mode or whatever. But I always like to pray, over my place and my kids and myself. But I was in a house before. I lived in six years with my ex-girlfriend, and it was an old house, man, and you do not know what's been in them places, before. You don't know what's happened, what kind of, it may be violence, maybe something demonic, rituals or whatever. And that place was just constantly, paranormal activity. I mean, we was sitting on the couch and in daytime, and the whole toilet lid slammed. And you might think, oh, that happens, but then it happened two times in a row, you
yeah,
know,
yeah.
and I seen orbs, in there, and just so many, and this ain't about me, but I think it's got to do too with you and, where you're at, you know, you know,
Where you're at and what happened there, or or what was the person like that lived there before?
yeah,
It's like where I'm living now, where I'm at here.
mm-hmm,
My wife and I both have noticed that it's shadow people.
mm-hmm,
Now you'll look down the hall and see a shadow go
yeah,
off around the corner. And you
yeah,
walk down there and there's nobody there. The kids are at school. It happens during the day sometimes.
yeah,
But we're not. Neither one of us have that feeling of dread about it.
yeah,
We both our whole lives have seen things. I guess you say that other people haven't, and we
yeah,
both you feel the vibes, and there's nothing ill intent here. We don't feel that. We're
yeah,
comfortable here. It's just it could be the lady that built this house. back in the day. You know,
Yeah.
you don't know. You know, and this is an old town. Well, I mean,
Uh-huh.
it's not super old, but this is the oldest part of town. So I don't know what was here before this house. You know.
Yeah. Yep. Exactly. I mean, you just don't know. But
Yeah.
I mean, you've probably had a few times in my life, dude. I've been in public place and I've walked and seen people and come eye to eye, and I've actually know they was demonically possessed. I mean, you could
Oh
just
yeah.
see it in them,
You
you
can just
know.
see it.
You
Yeah.
know, could see it in their like the eyes and soul.
Yeah.
Not saying I'm a psychic or anything, but the Lord, you know, I think that some people are into with spirituality. Like me, I'll have dreams, and I think that that's kind of a gift I've got. That in my dreams, I believe in my heart that God just showed me stuff, and directed me in my dreams many a times, not once, even showed me tragedies, and even told me, to get away from a person more than once, So, yeah, I think that once you're kind of in tune with the supernatural, whatever you want to call spirituality, it goes across the board, with everything, in tune with it.
Yeah. It does too.
I do believe that.
Yeah.
But I'll ask you a few questions. I'll kind of make things a little
Yeah, man.
different. What do you think about aliens? What do you think there's
Oh,
really green men out there, or do you think it's something else?
well, I mean, green men is just a blanket term, I
Yeah,
guess. But no, I believe there's other life out there, man.
yeah,
I don't see with the the billions of stars alone,
uh-huh,
with planets around each one. How could there not be somebody? e- How could there not be intelligent life out there?
yeah,
There's got to be. And I've seen UFOs.
yeah,
I've seen them. I've had two encounters. Nothing major. Just seen them.
yeah.
Nothing happened. I didn't see any like anything getting abducted. I've never been abducted or
Well,
anything. But I've
what
watched
happened?
flying saucers.
What happened? Do you want to tell
All
it?
right, so my first one, I was probably 9 years old, and I grew up out in the country, man. So if it wasn't a school night, we could go outside and play.
Hmm.
It didn't matter. Especially back in the '90s, man, it was a different time.
Yeah.
And I'm just out there one night, man, and I love to stargaze. I still do, man. I still go outside and lay out and look at the stars. I just laying out there, man, and looking at the stars, and I always liked watching around Orion's belt because I knew it had something to do with around the time of my birthday.
Yeah.
And so I was just kind of looking at it, looking at the stars, and I didn't hear anything, but from behind me as I'm laying down, it was a triangular shape heading over top of me, but I couldn't see texture or color. It's like it just blacked out the stars as it moved. You know what I'm
Uh-huh.
saying?
Yeah.
It wasn't invisible or doing anything like that. It just had no lights, and it just slowly moved across the sky, just blocking out stars as it crossed them. You know, and I watched it till it just passed the tree lines, and
Wow.
now and I didn't. I as a kid, I believed in aliens then too. It was just like, oh, cool, man. Like my first UFO. I went in, ran in, telling my
Yeah.
grandparents. They brush it off. You know how they were.
Yeah.
And but my second one, I was let's say 16 maybe, and I
Uh-huh.
was where was I? I don't even remember exactly where I was when it happened, but all it was this this solid light, looked like a star.
Uh-huh.
At first, I thought it was a shooting star with no tail, just a
Yeah.
light going across. But then all of a sudden, it made like it didn't even stop when it did it. It just made a 90 and shot off.
Yeah.
And you're watching airplanes. They've got a swoop, but this was just bam, straight 90, like a
Well,
hard 90, like on the edge of the table.
yeah,
So I man, aliens have to,
yeah,
extraterrestrials have to exist.
yeah, yeah. I believe
And
there's something out there too. I just don't know exactly what it is, And
no, and the only ones that do, in my opinion, the only ones that do know what's going on out there are keeping it hidden.
yeah,
Because, and I'm not trying to be a conspiracy theorist about it or anything, but if you think about it, man, if all of a sudden they started broadcasting on TV the president meeting with an extraterrestrial
yeah,
or something, and it was proven live TV, no Photoshop, nothing. Think about how crazy people would get because of it.
yeah. They
You
would.
know, because in so many cultures, well, not just culture, not in cultures, but in so many households, you grow up and your parents and grandparents are telling you, no, that doesn't exist. It's just stories.
Yeah,
And if it just comes to light all of a sudden, man, people are going to freak out over it.
yeah. I think they would
You know?
too. I think because I think I go back to what I really truly believe, the biblical things. And I kind of think, me personally, that there's something to do with like some kind of angels. You know what I mean? Because, like,
Yeah.
you go in the Bible, angels could take different forms, the fallen ones, the bad ones, and the good ones. So maybe it's some kind of angels, it could be just a group
Yeah.
I mean, it's got to be something like that, but then again,
Yeah.
you look at it like this. It says in the Bible there's so many things that they've left out, you know what I mean? And there could be another form of life that was created that's out there, and I think that it could be. I mean, why not? I mean, because I believe the Bible is 100% true, but I also believe there's a lot of stuff that's not in it. Because you go to the Book of Enoch, there's a lot of
Yeah.
stuff in there, and the Book of Jasher, and I'm not a scholar on all of it at all, but I do believe there's something out there. But just like you go with Bigfoot, I think that the reason why they're hiding it, yeah, it might be to do with money, but I saw also it could be proven, maybe the Bible is real. You know what I mean? Maybe
Yeah.
certain higher powers don't want you to know, society, that the Bible's what, God is real and stuff. Maybe that's the reason. I don't know.
Yeah.
It might be panic
Eh,
too.
Yeah. I don't think the populace, the masses, could handle something like that
Yeah,
brought out to light in the public just all of a sudden.
yeah,
I think those of us like you and I and Daniel from the Cryptid Podcast and all these others, I think it's up to us to just to gather the information and slowly put it out there.
uh-huh,
You can't if an official, like a Congress or a president or a governor or anything, oh, excuse me, drop this bomb, literal bomb on everybody, they would people would go hysterical.
yeah,
Just look look what happened. You remember Y2K
oh yeah,
when everybody thought all the computers were going to shut down and it just was going to be chaos. I mean, stores were cleared out,
yep,
gas pumps were emptied. Think if anything like this was dropped on anybody, information was dropped out,
yeah.
how the population would react.
Yeah, I agree. I agree, and I think that shows like this, and other shows, cryptid podcasts, where it's more. I know that I've got friends in the gaming community is starting to believe, and I'm not pushing it on them. I'll show them videos and talk to them, about it. I mean, I'm not preaching to them about it, but these platforms here is more for people that's had encounters that's either got PTSD or just tore up about it and their life's in shambles or just want to tell somebody and feel comfortable, get it off their chest. You know what I mean? And it makes you feel better to
Yeah.
talk to somebody about it. Because when I had that, I think 100% was a Bigfoot encounter, in 2011, which I didn't see it, physically see it, but I heard it and seen the trees go and I heard it, roar, vocalization. And I didn't have a lot of people to tell. I told my son and a couple other people. They looked at you like this crazy. Most of them did. And you get to come on these shows and talk and watch podcasts, and you don't feel like you're a nutcase. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
You don't feel like you're a
That was
nutcase.
I want to say 2006 is when I heard the Banshee scream is what I call it.
Yeah.
And that's the one that affected me the most because I couldn't see it.
Uh huh.
And and I couldn't see it and I immediately went in and talked to my grandfather about it. And he said, "Oh, it was a Black Panther, because
Uh
that's
huh.
the big thing is Louisiana has them, but nobody wants to admit it." And I kind of, I it being my grandfather's like, okay, okay, I believe you, but it always stayed with me that scream.
Yeah.
And in later years, I was like, well, man, somebody's got to have some audio of some big cats online. Let me look
Uh
that
huh.
up. And I started listening to all of them, and it's nothing like them. Nothing like them. Like that's why I describe it as a banshee scream.
Really.
Like just that long, drawn out, high pitch
Really.
scream. It doesn't have that. I mean, if you've heard a big cat,
Yeah.
that scream they do, it's got that raspiness in it.
Yeah.
At the end of this was just. I mean, I can't remember the movie it was, but like a woman being murdered,
Really. Is that what it
being
sounds
just
like?
gutted, yeah, it was just that high pitched scream, and I've had people talk, say Bigfoot, and I mean, possibly, I'm not saying it wasn't,
Yeah.
but I haven't heard any supposed Bigfoot audio that sounds like it, you know.
Well, where was you at, and what was you doing when that happened?
So that was my grandparents' property. That
Yeah.
property, that's several of my encounters. That's where one of the UFOs happened. The scream happened. Uh, paranormal, the orb. But yeah, we had a garage about 75 to 100 yards away from the house, and that's where we were. That's where we worked on all our vehicles at. And I was up one night working on one of my cars. See if it was 2006. An old truck of mine I had then. I was working on it, doing something. I don't know. But I realized it was getting late. It was probably about 9 o'clock, so I decided to go in so I could shower before everybody went to bed. And as I'm walking back, about halfway back to the house, it was it was at about my 5 o'clock where the sound came from, and it stopped me as soon as it started.
Yeah.
It stopped, like not physically stopped me, but hearing it, I
Yeah.
had to stop. Like something was going on in that scream, and it lasted a good 3 4 seconds of a scream, just
Yeah.
and when it stopped, I'm looking around. Well, as it's going, I'm looking around, looking, and it's pitch black out there except for the vapor light, the booger light,
Yeah.
as the old timers call it. Um, but it was outside of that light.
Yeah.
Like I said, to my 5 o'clock, which would have been southeast, the direction it was coming from. And I couldn't see anything, nothing. I didn't see any eyes. I didn't see eyes shine. Didn't see any figures. Just the scream.
Wow.
And it sounded like it was probably a good 200 yards away from me.
Yeah.
You know, which we had. There's an old creek that direction, and our pond was somewhat that direction.
Yeah.
So, I mean, if it was a Bigfoot or another animal, it could have been near the water sources, you know. But
Yeah.
like I said, man, that. But yeah, I heard it, and I immediately just went back inside and talked to my grandfather about it. And that's when he told me,
Yeah.
panther.
How loud
And then
was
he
it?
told me,
How loud
oh, it
was it?
was, it was, I mean, it was pretty loud. It wasn't like deafening loud,
Yeah.
but being next to, if you're standing next to an 18-wheeler running,
Yeah.
how much sound it is about that loud,
Yeah.
not one revving, just one idling, sitting there idling,
Yeah.
So it wasn't quiet.
Yeah. What do you think it was, honestly?
I it after so I'll whenever you want me to, I'll tell the story about the crawler.
Yeah.
I think it might have been a crawler
Uh-huh.
because I've on the same property I've seen a pale crawler,
Yeah.
and I think maybe it's lived out there or lives
Yeah.
out there. I think the scream was a crawler.
Yeah.
Because years later, I'll say about 2011, 2012, I was the same property, grandparents' property. Like I said, this is where a lot of things happen. I It was late one night. I was there by myself. I think my grandfather had passed away a couple of years before, and I was living with my grandmother to help her out. She was gone to Virginia, I think, at the time. But I went out to the garage, not the shop I was talking about before, but the attached garage. And I went outside to that. You had to walk out of the house and then into the garage. I went there to smoke a cigarette, and I get done, I go to walk back inside to watch more TV or something. I don't know. But when you step out of the door, you have to turn left to go up on the porch and into the house. So I walk out of the door and I make my turn left, and I hear, and people look at me funny. I hear someone say, "Hey," like an audible "Hey," like have you seen somebody in Walmart? Hey, you know. And this was 11, 12 o'clock at night. Nobody should be out there. And I turned to where the sound came from, which was down at the creek. The creek splits the property in half, and down at the creek was this figure. And I'm sorry, my wife stepped
No,
in.
it's fine.
Um, um, there was this little figure down at the creek, and the best I can describe it is it was Gollum. It
Yeah.
looked like Gollum from Lord of the Rings when he's sitting on the rock, squatted down. That's what was sitting down by the creek. Now it was a little ways away, 150 yards, I want to
Yeah.
say, and just enough light was hitting it to where you could make out the figure and the color, but you couldn't get I couldn't get details. It was
Yeah.
far away, and it was. I mean, I want to say it was about the size of a toddler.
Yeah.
Maybe if it stood up, it probably wouldn't have been more than 3 feet tall.
Really.
But it was that pale, like zombie pale
Yeah.
skin and bald. You could see he was squatting, and its head was turned and facing towards me, and I could make out there was no snout like a dog or anything. It
Yeah.
was not flat, but it was humanoid faced,
Yeah.
just no. I couldn't see eyes. It was just like a black void.
Yeah.
There could have been eyes, but no eye shine. It was dark, like
Yeah.
if there's no light present, and bald head to toe. I couldn't
Yeah.
make out its feet or its hands, but it said hey. That
Wow.
when that happened, it sent chills.
Yeah.
And I looked at it for a second, and I had my phone in my hand because I was probably scrolling Facebook or something, and I pulled up the camera to take a picture, and then I walked inside and immediately went to a window that was facing the creek. And by the time I walked inside, and I'm watching it this whole time as I'm walking up the stairs and through the door,
Yeah.
but by the time I go through the door and get to the window, it was gone. And so I grab my phone and I look at the picture, and it's just a gray blur down there. You
Yeah.
couldn't make out any kind of figure or anything. So
Yeah.
it wasn't even worth. I didn't even save it. And this was what, 2011, 2012.
Yeah.
Those phone cameras were trash back then, anyways.
Yeah. Well,
But
how long do you think you seen it for when you?
um, it was a good. It was a good couple minutes. I sat there and watched it. Like, it didn't
Dang.
move. Like, it watched me as I watched it. Kind of. I don't think it meant me any harm, but it
Yeah.
wanted me to know it was there.
Yeah.
But it also, I felt like it was, when you see an animal that's not predator or prey to you, but they're
Yeah.
curious
Yeah.
and they're standoffish,
Yeah.
that's what I felt like it was doing. Like, it was walking through the same time I walked out the door, and it was just like, it was startled, and I
Yeah.
was startled. So we were just kind of staring each other down, And I guess I just made the first move to walk
Yeah.
away.
Yeah.
So when it took that opportunity, it didn't see me anymore. I think it took off.
What, so it was down by the creek, you said, or was it?
Yeah. Yeah, it
Oh.
was where it was sitting was probably 2 or 3 feet away from the creek. And I say a creek, man, we called it the gully.
Yeah.
You could drive a car across it during the summertime.
Yeah.
It was nothing.
Yeah.
It was, I mean, it would flood when heavy rains would come, but for the most time, it was only about a foot wide.
Yeah.
And at that point it was a slow slope down and away from it. So it wasn't a drop off or anything. We used to play in it as kids.
Yeah. Well, what was
But
your first
it was,
thought when you seen it? I mean,
I didn't, man, I didn't, I couldn't, my brain at that time could not comprehend what I was seeing.
yeah.
It was just like, it was like a lost feeling, like rattling off everything in my head. What could it be? No, not that. No, not that.
Yeah.
No, not that. No, not that. No, and, I wasn't scared per se, but I was cautious,
Yeah.
because man, I didn't know what it would do or could do. So
Yeah.
I wasn't about to go walk down there and say
Yeah.
hi.
Yeah. I mean, so you mistakenly no way could it be human? I mean, for
Yeah,
100% sure.
no, there was no,
Yeah.
there was it was almost what's the word? Emaciated,
Uh-huh.
just sickly looking.
Yeah.
Like I couldn't tell any kind of. It was thin,
Yeah.
thin.
Yeah.
Like almost nothing but bone.
Yeah.
And at that time of night in that area, I don't feel like it could have been human.
Yeah.
And as small as it was,
Yeah.
if it was a child, I don't think it would have ran off. I feel like a child out in the
Yeah.
woods, scared,
Yeah.
might come closer to a light, to a house.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Did you see its genitals or anything? Could you make out
No, I
that?
couldn't. It was in a, let's say, it was in a, like a squatting position, so I
Yeah.
couldn't see. I could see, and it was a side view.
Yeah.
Like, so I could see its hip and
Yeah.
leg in the squatting position,
Yeah.
and its head turned, but I couldn't make out anything about the chest or
Yeah.
genitals or anything like that. So I couldn't tell you.
Man.
But I mean, there was no snout.
Yeah.
I could tell there was no tail,
Yeah.
but I couldn't. There, it didn't have any kind of a butt. It was
Yeah.
you could tell it was just like hip bone.
Yeah.
Like I
Wow.
said, that sickly look to it.
Wow. Yeah, I've heard about them, so many encounters, and I always hear what you probably didn't see it. Their mouth, always having a wide mouth and
Yeah, I
stuff.
didn't. I couldn't see. Well, to me, it looked like the mouth was closed.
Mm-hmm.
You know, like it was just had that it felt like it was curious. It was startled as much as I
Yeah,
was.
yeah,
So I
man.
don't know if tail crawlers have, if they grow like we do,
Yeah,
if they have children, adolescents, and adults. I don't know. I don't know if anybody knows, but the size
yeah.
was the size of a toddler.
Well, I think that would be the most frightening part to me is the
And
size
it,
of
it,
it.
it yeah, it was. It, and I guess again because I've seen paranormal and everything, so it didn't startle me as much.
Yeah,
It sent chills because I didn't know what I was looking at, and I'd never seen anything like that before. And it wasn't up until about, I don't know, 8 9 months ago that I heard the term pale crawler.
yeah,
Because I'd never looked. I've always looked in. It wasn't but 2 years ago I found out about Dogman.
yeah,
I knew Rougarou. I knew
yeah,
Rougarou,
yeah,
but I'd never heard about Dogman. So I mean, it was always looking at Bigfoot or Sasquatch stuff. But it wasn't up until about 8 9 months ago when I finally pale crawler. I was like, oh, let me check these out, and um, in that episode Daniel had put out East Texas Gollum,
yeah.
and how he described that thing. I seen that. I said to myself, that's exactly what I
Exactly.
saw.
Yeah,
Like it just like, oh. So that's
yeah,
why I describe it. I tell everybody a Gollum. Because that's the best visual I
yeah.
can give anybody.
Have you seen any pictures online that looks like it?
Um, no, I mean every time I type in pale crawlers, it's always like you say, like the mouth and
Yeah,
them coming at you, and I I haven't really seen anything in that perspective,
hmm,
of them kind of crawling away, or it's always in your face,
yeah, yeah,
or through a window, or
yeah.
um
Yeah, I think most of those are fake anyway. I think.
I think there's been a few sightings, and people,
Yeah,
the horror community
yeah,
grabbed a hold of it,
yeah,
and started making fake videos and fake pictures, you
yeah,
know.
yeah. I do too. I do too, man. But then I wouldn't want to see nothing like that. And
I don't want to. I don't want to see it again. I
yeah,
really. I don't. I mean,
yeah,
because I know more about them now,
yeah,
or believe more about them from what I've other encounters and stuff, than what it could have done. Yeah, no, I don't want to see another one again.
yeah.
I think that's the last time I was actually out at that property at night. Anyways, I don't think I've ever went back out there at
Yeah, I
night.
don't. I don't blame you. I've heard accounts of them, and I heard account on Dogman encounters where a guy was having encounters with Dogman, and the pale crawlers were killing his cattle, and the Dogman told him he seen the Dogman in front of him, and there was a pale crawler, and the Dogman, mind spoke or telepathy, whatever, and told him, said, we kill those pale crawlers. That's what we do. I don't know,
And,
if that's
and
true or not,
I've,
but
I've heard instances of that in other. I don't remember which podcast I've heard it on, but it was Sasquatch and Dogman considered other cryptids like that
uh-huh.
as bad. They kill
Yeah,
them, they get rid of them, they try to run them off out of the area.
yeah.
You know,
And the biggest question, I guess, a lot of people is, where are they at, dude? I do believe 100% that they've got to be going through portals to travel.
yeah,
There's no way that they can hide all them cryptic.
yeah. I think there's some interdimensional thing going on where they
Yeah,
can slip between.
yeah.
I've heard a lot of who was it? Was it Ron Moorhead? He's got I think with his theories on the interdimensional abilities of cryptids. All has to do with like quantum physics and stuff.
Yeah.
Way above my knowledge,
I don't know. I don't
but
know.
but if you listen to him talk about it,
Yeah.
it kind of makes sense.
Yeah, and I
But yeah, I
think,
think there's got to be something.
yeah, exactly. And I know there was a recent episode of Confessionals. I think Scott Carpenter's son's on it, and they're talking, which is members only. I'm not a member of this confessional watch it, and I seen a clip of it, and he was talking about some cultures believe that the trees something to do with portals or something, and
Yeah,
I like to watch the whole show. Hopefully they'll release it, not be, members only. But yeah, there's got to be some. Well, it's like this, okay. You go back to your beliefs. My beliefs, of course, I believe in God. I believe in Satan, and they're not around. They're in another dimension. They got to be in another dimension or somewhere. So, and then spirits and stuff, they got to some way, go from one place to another, because they're out there, these cryptics, and not every day we're seeing them, and because if they was out there just in the woods as undiscovered species, more people would see them, dude. It ain't that way, it's not that way. So there's got to be a way that they're going from, and like when you go to missing, go ahead. I didn't mean to interrupt you.
Oh, well, I was just gonna, you said the trees,
Yeah.
and if you look back in a lot of ancient cultures and beliefs, trees are regarded highly, and in a lot of them, like just example, like Norse paganism, the tree of life.
Yeah.
The tree is the gateway between realms, between Helheim, Valhalla, Midgard, which is, the tree's the gateway. So maybe they seen something and know something that we don't now, that we've forgotten per se. We're too out of touch with the natural to be able to see that anymore.
Well, I think, and I'll tell you an example of this. I think that our mortal minds, is not in that place spiritually to know the knowledge. I think when we, die and our spirit goes on, then we'll understand it, because in the Bible, I probably might be wrong on this. I remember, Jesus said, "Don't touch me, I haven't descended to my Father," and stuff. But when I had an encounter, a supernatural thing, I haven't told this much, but yeah, if you don't care, I'll tell it real quick.
Go ahead, man. We're just sitting here having a conversation.
Yeah, exactly. I was in a motel room. I was there with my first cousin, another dude. We had two twin beds with my cousins. We working, we had one room. I was sleeping one night, and I've had several demonic encounters with different things, but I remember I had sleep paralysis, right? Well, I couldn't move. I could barely open my eyes, and all I seen was like a couple these creatures just from their waist down, and it was real furry. And I think I've had an encounter with one when I was a kid or a little person. But anyway, I couldn't open my eyes, and I could feel them in there, the evil presence. And I started praying. I said, "God, what is it?" And and God said, "You can't handle it." That's exactly what he told me, So I get up, start praying, I go and, start praying anyway. I go back to sleep. Well, it happened again. And I never did see the whole image, of what it was, because God, spoke to me, like when you're praying and the Lord, subconsciously talks to you, whatever. I had it again. I woke up, was paralyzed. It was the worstest fear I've ever felt in my life. I was sleeping with my shirt off, and I felt something touch my chest, man, like kind of sharp, which I woke up, there was no mark on me. And I started saying, "What is this, God? What is this?" And God told me in the loudest voice, he said, and slow, he said, "You cannot handle this." He was telling me your mind cannot handle seeing the spiritual realm, and what God showed me was from the elbow down. It was a red, slimy, muscled up arm, and it had a black fingernail about 3 inches long. It was huge. That's all he showed me. Well, I broke out of that paralyzation and went in the bathroom. I remember I got my Bible and I prayed, for a long time, and then I went back to sleep. It never happened. The whole point of that story is I believe our mortal minds can't handle that knowledge, our flesh, our spirit. That's why we see supernatural things. And I believe that this is my theory. A lot of times when you see people that are mentally unstable and like keep talking to themselves, or I don't know how to say the word, but have mental problems, are out there. Well, they're talking to themselves. I believe that they've seen into the spiritual world, and that's broke their mind. That's kind of a theory of mine. I'm probably wrong.
Well, I mean, you have those with mental disabilities
Yeah,
that science and medical can't explain.
yeah,
There's no reason, no illness or disability or anything to explain that away.
yeah,
And I tend to agree with
yeah,
you on that. Is that
yeah,
they've seen something or experienced something
yeah,
that their brain couldn't handle,
yeah.
and it just, I mean, in lack of better terms, it short circuited something in there.
Yeah,
You
exactly.
know,
And not getting on the subject of talking about the clothes, doing candy, or talking about drugs. Drugs are no good, disclaimer. But just like when a person that's out there and does meth, say, and they're up for days, you're basically fasting, in a demonic realm, and
and after your body goes without food
mhm,
and sleep for so long, your body starts feasting on itself.
yeah,
You have to have that protein from somewhere,
yeah,
and it'll start eating.
yeah,
It'll start eating at your brain, and your body will consume itself
exactly.
because of it. Yeah,
And
yeah, man.
and I think there's a spiritual sense to that, because that is straight from the pits of hell. That's demonic. Drugs are
That
demonic. That's
that,
my opinion.
that
And
yeah,
when you do
meth,
that,
meth is the devil, man.
yeah,
Meth
because
is the
the
devil.
way they make it is sorcery. They're mixing stuff in vats and all of that. You know what I
Yep.
mean? That's straight
Yeah.
sorcery and witchcraft when they're doing that. And then you're consuming something, because in Christianity, when you fast, you could feel the spiritual side of God. It feels like you're getting closer, and it's a real spiritual thing when you fast for
Oh,
God in
when
Christianity.
you're moving, you fast. You're not putting any toxins or
Yeah,
anything in your body.
yeah,
And so you're becoming more natural per se.
yeah,
That's and a lot of people that eat clean, I guess you would call it,
yeah,
tend to be more spiritual
exactly,
because I believe you don't have all these preservatives and toxins in your body
exactly.
from everyday food, everything you eat. So when you fast, you're
Yeah,
cleansing,
yeah.
you know.
That's exactly. And then when you do
But
that,
yeah, you
when you do that meth, it's straight poison, man. And then it's all demonic all the way around, and it's a spiritual thing. Anything you do is spiritual, man. If you don't think it ain't, especially did with chemicals and altering, your mind and your body, because your body's a temple, your mind, body, and soul. And that's why, like you said, when people take care of themselves, you get more peace, inner peace too. But me going down that rabbit hole, I do believe that our minds are not meant to see certain things on this earth, because I believe when you pass, your spirit goes on and lives forever. This body's decaying as we speak, And our mind's a separate thing, you know. It's our being and our spirit and our soul.
And that's all. And that's why, like, there's been a couple people. I say the veil is thinning.
Yeah.
There's a veil is a blanket term. You think of a bridal veil. It covers vision. So the veil of the natural and spiritual is there to keep us from seeing these things we can't handle.
Exactly.
And I do believe as we get farther and farther away from our spiritual and natural side, the veil is slowly thinning. So we are seeing more and more people are seeing more and more things that should not be, that we've been told our whole lives that aren't there.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I believe that too. And, you know, not going down this route of, you know, here, come on, BB, about, the end of the world biblically and stuff. And I do believe everything's going to come to a head. And when you get closer, till the end or whatever you want to call it, like you said, the veil's thinner and it's a lot of more spiritual things are going on. I mean, if you believe in the tribulation, there's supposed to be beasts come out of the earth and torture people, and stuff you wouldn't think, out of horror movies. So, I do believe that there are a lot of different cryptics out there. What are they? I think a majority, my personal opinion, that they're demonic, and because demons are angels, they can take different forms. I mean, you go back to when Noah, when the Lord flooded the earth, it was all over, the angels coming down and sleeping with, mortal woman. And, they had to take some kind of form, some kind of physical male form to, have sex with mortal, you know what I mean? And then they had, because of their being what they were, they had them crazy offsprings of giants. It said they came down and, intermingled with the animals and stuff. So that's what I think a lot to do with cryptic. That's my opinion. I don't know anything. I'm just guessing. I'm just throwing the dice. But,
Well, that's what I mean. There's no experts in this, and if somebody says they're an expert, they're lying.
Mm-hmm.
They're lying, and they're just trying to get viewed. That's all it comes down to.
Yeah, I agree with you.
Nobody knows for sure, and we're not going to know. Some of us, most of in this lifetime, we're not going to know.
No.
I don't think anything is going to come to a head in our lifetime.
No.
It may look like it. It may feel like it sometimes.
Yeah.
Because of everything that goes on in the world. But I don't think any of us alive now will know the ending.
No, we won't know until we pass, until we die, it's totally spiritual, our soul. And it is the question, everybody does it. What are they? Where'd they come from? And we all got theories. Go ahead.
Even if you're not a religious person, there's still the question. Everybody's going to have the question: what happens after this life? And I mean, some people believe that it just ends. And they could be true. It could just be done. I mean, there's so many theories out there about it, but I don't think we're not going to know until the end comes.
Yeah, I understand. I respect,
and I say when it's our end, not the end.
Yeah. Well, I've got a lot of friends, across the board and all over the world. I respect them. I've got atheist friends. I've even got a Muslim friend, and I respect what they believe. I believe what I die on the hill about it. But I think that it gives us a little comfort to kind of guess at it. It does me kind of you try to pinpoint what it is. It does kind of give me a little comfort instead of always wondering.
Yeah, and I'm not going to judge I don't judge anyone on their religion.
Yeah,
No matter what you are, I judge a person on the person.
exactly.
On their intent. Like, who am I to say you're wrong? In most religions, Christianity, for example, that's you don't judge. You're
Yeah,
not the one to judge. So
that's right.
why tell me I'm wrong? That's a form of judgment. It all comes down to how you treat people. You
Exactly.
know,
You're
it,
right.
yeah, I'm not trying. I don't want to get off on a religious rant or anything.
No, no,
But
I
it just it
understand. But yeah,
just
you're 100%
just
right.
be good to each other.
Yeah,
We're all in this together.
exactly.
We're all struggling.
Exactly. No,
So
you're
let the other man be. If what he believes makes him happy, let him be happy.
that's how
You know.
I am, dude. I don't try
Yeah.
to throw nothing on nobody. And, I want people to be happy and
No.
live their life and be healthy and not, because a lot of people these days deal with depression, and mental issues. I think all to a certain degree, we all do. And, you know, that's why I like this my channel. I like getting on here and just talking and just being myself, and because I'm always interested what the other person thinks, and how they function and what they think about a certain subject, and I try not to. Well, of course, on my gaming channel, I don't talk about politics or religion at all. You know,
Yeah.
but on
Yeah.
here, I
Well,
just
that's. I
kind of let it
mean,
rip.
politics and religion are really the two subjects. I did just talk a little bit of
Yeah,
religion, but
yeah, I do
I
too.
don't discuss I don't discuss religions and I don't talk about politics because in my experience, those are the two subjects that starts more arguments
Oh yeah,
and forms more hatred than anything.
yeah,
It that's why I say it doesn't matter what they believe. It matters
yep,
who they are, what their intent. You
yeah.
know,
That's exactly.
but
But the but the pill crawler, man. I when I first went down a rabbit hole, really legitly a year ago. It was about Bigfoot, and then I learned about Dogman, and then it took me a while to kind of believe about the pill crawler, even though I've had experiences. I haven't had I've had like physically seeing something, it was probably a few times, I've seen some kind of demonic beings or something, and I seen three silhouettes look like aliens with bulbs on their, hands, by my bed one time. Now I don't know what that was. I felt it was demonic, but yeah, the pill crawler. Yeah, it took me a little while, until I started, watching things, and like that guy that was going down the road and that thing jumped on the back of his truck. I don't know if you.
that 911 call, man.
It's
Yeah, I've
wild.
listened to that. I've listened to that numerous times, and you can hear it. You can hear it thunk in
Yeah,
the bed of his truck
yeah.
when it lands. And then he said, it's in my truck." Yeah,
Yeah, yeah,
that
and
was.
there's a there's a channel. It's I don't even know the name of it. I'm subscribed to it though. But he takes like those calls and stuff, and he'll dramatize it. I don't know what his name. If I find it,
Oh
I'll
yeah.
send it to you. And
Okay.
but you can hear that in his voice, man. He said it's not human. That's what he said. He starts
Yeah,
screaming.
that's
It's
not
not.
human. Yeah.
Who's gonna call and prank and and do that, a sober person, and you can hear it thump.
Yeah, you can tell. You can not just in his, like you said, in his voice. You can tell how it's affecting him.
Yeah,
That he's seeing something that's not supposed to be real. That's not supposed to be there.
yep,
You can tell it in his voice, man. And that's where whenever when I'm watching videos, that's the main thing is
yeah,
listening to this person talk about it. You can feel what they were feeling at the time.
yeah.
And there's a lot of fake stories
Oh
out there.
yeah,
People just for some reason, unbeknownst to me, just I guess wanting to get on camera. I don't know, but
yeah.
majority of them out there, you can hear the sincerity in their voice when they talk about these encounters and experiences they've had. You know, like
Yeah.
it's that's hard to fake.
Yep. Yep. It is hard to fake real, man. And like I've told my story a couple times, and I've not strayed from it, but you'll remember little details. More you tell it. When you tell a story.
Mm-hmm.
But what was amazing, what was weird about that is he first seen that dude look like a Civil War, dressed in Civil War clothes and was bleeding. But then
Bleeding
after,
on, yeah, they saw a guy bleeding on the side of the road. Yeah,
yeah, so that
yeah.
shows you that the paranormal, all of it's connected. Was that the pale
Well,
crawler that
hey,
manifested, or was it
well,
something different?
well, was that guy attacked by the pale crawler?
Yeah,
You
yeah,
know, had
yeah,
he just been attacked and that guy in the truck came through at the right moment
yeah,
and distracted the pale crawler,
yeah.
yeah.
I never thought
Or like you
about
said, could
that.
it been,
Yeah,
yeah, or could he have been the pale crawler been a shapeshifter
yeah,
and presented himself as the man on the side of the road bleeding?
yeah. Trying to get him
And
to
when
pull
then when he
over.
yeah, then when he ignored him and kept going,
Uh huh.
well, not per se ignored him, but he he didn't want to pull over because
Yeah,
he didn't know. Then the pale crawler decided to attack.
yeah,
I
yeah,
don't know what it was because he didn't
yeah.
mention the guy on the side of the road wasn't mentioned again.
Yeah, that's what's
You
weird. They
know,
didn't say that, they found him. Maybe it was a real guy and they found him. Maybe the pill crawler, after he got thrown off, went back and finished the guy off. You never
maybe
know.
yeah.
And I won't
Yeah,
keep you
it's one of
much.
the-
I won't keep you much
oh
longer.
man,
But that goes
oh, it's all
back
good.
to, I used to live in the woods. I grew up in the country. I lived in the woods when I was a kid. Even I don't do it much anymore where I live in town, but I used to go in the woods and just sit, squirrel hunt or whatever. Just sit by
Oh,
myself
that
for
was
hours, man. I
that
won't
was the
do it
whole reason
anymore.
I would go
Yeah,
squirrel hunting was to just to go off in the woods and sit by a tree. And
yeah,
if I got any squirrels, cool. But if I didn't, that's okay too. I was
yeah,
enjoying nature, man. It's peaceful.
yeah,
But I've tried to go out a few times since, and I just can't enjoy it like I
yeah,
used to.
yeah,
And I think it's because of the experiences I've had. I know what possibly could be out there. I've
exactly.
seen things that shouldn't be out there. Like, I mean, I don't know how I came when I was. So my first encounter was when I want to say 7.
Uh huh.
It was whenever I was chased out of the woods by that orb. And I don't know how I came back from that because I still see I can close my eyes and still see that
Wow.
whole scene play out. It was my cousin and I had this riding mower with no deck on it, and he was in the little garden tractor, and we're riding through the woods out at my grandparents' house, and the trail made a horseshoe, and we were coming up to the curve of it, and just this white orb went across. I seen it go across, and then come back out the other side of the woods, back at an angle towards us, and that's when I turned around and was heading back to the house, and my cousin he's hitting on me and screaming at me, it's
Uh,
coming, it's coming, it's coming. And about the time I got out of the wood line, I looked back to see it turn back and go back into the woods. And this orb was about the size of a grapefruit.
yeah.
And this was midday, man. It was a bright sunny day, and it was bright white, it was like a light
Yeah.
in pitch black. That's how bright it was during the middle of the day.
Wow.
And people say, "Oh, it was a rabbit chasing you." Well, what kind of rabbit chases some kids on a lawnmower?
Yeah.
Rabbits don't chase.
Yeah.
It
When
would, and like I said, it was white. Any albino rabbit
yeah.
to get that big wouldn't survive. Something would have gotten it. You
Was it
know,
off the ground
there.
or where was it at?
Yeah, there was. It was a good 6 to 8 inches above the ground. You know, and it didn't have. It was smooth.
Yeah.
It was smooth as it went. You know, so there was no
Yeah.
hop like something was running, or it was smooth, just like it was hovering, but it was quick. It went
Yeah.
across the trail and then came back across the trail, and like I said, that's when I turned around.
Wow.
And my cousin said it was coming after us at that point. I didn't look back. I wasn't looking back
Yeah.
until I got out the wood line. And when I got out the wood line is when, because it was open, I knew I didn't have to. I could look back.
Yeah.
That's when I seen it come out of the trail and make a U-turn back into the woods. And
Wow.
that whole time too, it was smooth. It was smooth.
Yep.
That I can't explain. I don't even know where to begin. I mean, like, it was an orb. You know, was
Yeah.
it a spirit? Was it? I don't know. You know, that one's really hard to explain.
Well, with Bigfoot, a lot of people see orbs, with Bigfoot and
There's a lot of
cryptids.
yeah,
So maybe
and I
that's
think I
before
think
they
I think
manifest.
the orbs. I think the orbs are around a lot of these cryptids. You
Yeah.
know, and it might have something to do, like we were talking earlier, about the portals or
Yep.
the gateways.
Yep.
You know, that might be something else coming out, just sneaking through
Yeah.
as this other cryptid comes through.
There might be some kind of parallel universe with our, existence, and they live there
Yeah,
and they just come over. You don't know, man. That's
you don't
what's
know.
crazy. And like I said, I think the government knows, and they will not tell us because we go. A lot of people go buck wild.
Yeah, just crazy. It'll go crazy, man. It'll be almost an apocalypse,
It would.
because everybody's gonna go buy everything out of the store.
Yeah.
Everybody's not gonna go to work, so
Yeah. Yep.
because
Exactly.
there's a lot of people, and I know some of them that have the mindset that if something like that happens, they're gonna go underground per se.
Yeah.
They're
Yeah.
gonna hide out.
Yeah, the
And some of these people have it.
yeah, it would collapse. Everything collapse.
Yep,
Exactly.
yep.
And
I think so.
like us, we'd probably just go ahead on living and just kind of just watch more, and
Oh, well, I mean,
I'm not
I'm gonna keep
gonna.
my phone tuned in, but I'm still gonna go to work.
Yeah, yeah, I'm just gonna do what I am, and just stay prayed up and and have your pew pew with you. That's all you can do. I mean.
Yeah,
But like you said, there'd be some idiots out there that just would freak out and either go under. Because you take a majority of people that quit working and stuff, man, that whole society, man, financially, the whole infrastructure would collapse. Nobody to drive, soup cans to Walmart. You know what I mean? Big trucks, they quick.
oh yeah.
Yeah,
I'm a truck driver, man. I
yeah,
know. I know if we lost half of the driving force in the United States, the
yeah,
country would collapse.
yep. Yeah.
Because we wouldn't have nobody would be able to get the resources.
That's the reason why. I think
And
that's the main reason. Yeah. Go
I'm a
ahead.
fuel driver. I'm a fuel truck driver. I delivered
Uh-huh.
convenience stores and stuff, gas and diesel, and I see what happens when a cold snap comes through. These people are crazy at these fuel stations.
Yeah.
I've sat back and watched fights happen at a gas pump. There was
Yeah.
a Category 1 hurricane coming in down here, and man, South Louisiana went nuts.
Yeah.
You know, it's
Yep. Everything. Well, yeah.
so I can only imagine what would happen if something like the cryptid or paranormal or extraterrestrial was, hey, this really happened. This really
Yeah.
happened, and here it is.
Yeah.
Here's proof.
Yeah.
You know.
Yeah. Even with Bigfoot, say if they said, well, the Bigfoot, was real, guys, and it comes through portals. Okay, if say if they didn't say portals, say Bigfoot's out in the woods, and that's gonna mess things up. You're gonna have idiots out there going to hunt them. Idiots out there.
You're gonna have someone wanting to hunt him,
Yep,
somebody wanting to capture him.
yep,
You're gonna have everybody and their grandma out there with a camera.
yep.
You know,
Yep, yep. The hunters say they quit. Say some hunters will quit hunting. Then the
yeah,
population of deer go up. And just it mess things financially, and then they'd want to. Then you have the hippies out there trying to, save them and all this forest land, and then the
yeah.
industry, logging industry. So yeah, I see the reason why they don't tell us. In a way, I understand. I do, you know,
Yeah.
because and I understand that. But all we can do is just, tell our encounters and tell people and just have a safe platform, and because I think these boots on the ground people we know, if they even photograph Bigfoot and have it, they're still good. The government's gonna shut them down, dude. Even if they find one and
Well,
capture it.
let me ask you a question. What do you think about the claim that the reason there's no pictures clear other than say the Patty film
Uh huh.
and such is because Bigfoot and Dogman can distort the electrical field. I know you've heard this
Yeah.
theory, right?
Yeah.
What do you think about that?
I
I mean, you
believe
think that's
I
true?
believe that's true, but also this is kind of far fetched out there too. I more believe what you're saying than anything, but it could be too. The government monitors everything. For example,
That's
yeah. For example, the
that's
guy,
where I was getting at it.
yeah, the
Yeah.
Owl Moon guy that was on Daniels, how he
Mhm.
erased his phones, they monitor everything. So I think if you take a picture, they can distort it. They can do whatever they want to with a picture, you know.
If you don't think the government is tracking you right now,
Yeah,
you got another thing coming because they can and do track everything that's going on.
yeah,
They've got technology and the personnel to do it.
yeah,
So I'm right there with you. I think they know when these pictures are being taken, and they've got something where they can distort that film, or
yeah,
distort that footage, or distort that proof.
yeah,
They let the
mm,
audios get out there because you
yeah,
can't you can't prove an audio. You know
exactly.
you can't you, you can't that you can't prove that was Sasquatch howling the next ridge over.
That's right.
But if you took a picture, you could,
Yeah,
but you can't. They're they're so blurred or distorted. I'm
yeah.
right there with you. I think
Yep, you're the first person I ever heard say that besides me. I think that they might have a team in a freaking office that's just for monitor the phones. And
yeah,
cause look, if you can talk about dog food right now, me and you, and then the next thing you see it's on Facebook, man, that
yep,
and with AI, all the Sora, everything, dude. It's just so much technology, unbelievable. And if there is extraterrestrial, and they do got a pact with the government, I know I'm going, way out there. You know, they
and
might
I'm
already,
enjoying
they
it.
already give them the technology, the government technology, to more. Because I heard a guy say one time, I seen a video recording. It was a guy talking back in '92, and he was saying that we had technology that they could see a postage stamp on a tennis court from space. People didn't really believe it, but he said this: the technology that the public got now is you're 6 years back. They're 6 years ahead
Yeah.
of us, the government, way ahead of us, dude. So
Well, and that's all technology we have today starts out government.
yeah,
Everything starts out government funding for either defense or surveillance. They're gonna dip their hands into it first.
yeah,
Anybody that's coming out with anything new, they're gonna dip into it first.
yeah,
When when that becomes obsolete for them, then it's released public.
Exactly. That's what I believe 100% because I know that there's, good pictures of Bigfoot out there. And you've heard encounters too where people's killed one or a dog, man, and the government come there,
Yeah.
take the body and say it's a bear. Listen here, in
Yep.
Arkansas,
Always a bear.
we've had two bear attacks here in Arkansas. A black bear, he said. They said one guy was on his tractor and he actually took a picture of the bear when he was standing on the track. You know what I mean? And it killed him. And there was another guy attacked in a park. That is rare. Even the news said they've never had that since 1885.
Yeah.
Come on, man. Two bear attacks in a
A,
month?
a, a, y'all got black bear. We got black
Yeah.
bear down here.
Yeah.
And I've run into black bear. Black bear they're skittish. They're not going to attack. They're gonna run away
Yeah.
or hide or they're it is real, like you said, super rare
Yeah.
for them to attack. And a guy on his tractor,
Yeah.
imagine how big that tractor looks to something that doesn't know what a tractor is.
Yep.
Why would a black bear, which is it's the smallest bear in North America, right?
Yeah.
I think. Why would it attack at a tractor?
Yeah.
It's way bigger than it is. It's way louder than it is.
Yep. Exactly.
Yeah,
And
I heard that. I heard that encounter you were talking about with the guy on the tractor.
now okay, first of all, that can all be distorted. Then maybe it did happen. Maybe he did have released pictures of him. They're saying that the bear was on the fender or by the fender, and he took a picture of it before it attacked him. And I'm not trying to, put down the attack or the family, the loved ones. Maybe they did release the pictures. Maybe it did. Maybe it was a bear, but two of them, I just don't believe it.
Yeah.
They tried to say they had evidence of that one, and then the other one, and then they tried to say that both men were taking pictures of the black bear before it killed him. And they found the bear, the one bear, and something was wrong with his brain, they said. So, take it like you want.
I don't believe that.
I don't believe it either, man.
Because I mean, you can holler at a black bear.
Yeah.
I've been hunting and come up with one, and you're at it, and they'll take off.
Yeah.
Now, I mean, you have, because we got public land around here to hunt on, and they've got to put up the signs, black bear in the area.
Yeah.
But I don't think it's black bear attacking these people.
I don't think it's either. I mean, what it is, I don't know. It could be dog, man. It could be something different, but yeah, I don't believe that at all, man. But I'll tell you this here, and I'll wrap it up, man. I know you probably got stuff to do, but I grew up.
No, I'm probably gonna watch either you or Snap stream. Whoever.
Yeah, I don't know if I'll stream or not, but it's like this, dude. I grew up 3 miles from the Spiral Mounds. You can look it up. It's an Indian, Native American burial ground, supposedly 2,000 years ago. The Caddo Indians. It was by the Arkansas River. They say it was like the Washington D.C. Back then of the Native Americans because it was a trade route, and everybody that took that stuff out of there, died mysteriously. Because they took the stuff and took it to Oklahoma City and displayed it, and then I've heard of so much paranormal stuff happen right around there. I live 3 miles from there. That's where I've had stuff happen to me. But I've had all the old timers would tell me this land's cursed. Even my grandma, when just before she passed, she was 101 when she died, she would say she'd see Native Americans all out in the yard, like weeks and stuff when she's getting close to passing away. But I'll tell you this here. I'll tell you these two encounters, where it won't take a minute. I had a friend, I go see her, she lives close by me, but she grew up down there, and what it is by the mountains is a little community called Fort Coffee, and it's mostly a black community. And I growed up there, know everybody there, old country people, all country. And she's 65 years old. I've known her for 22 years. Her brother is a pastor here where I live in a big church, and always when I go to Walmart, I'll stop by and see her or call her, and she knows all my people. I know her, and she don't drive much. I'll take her to the store. And, well, I was just talking. We don't even talk about cryptics, nothing like this. And she said, I tell you, when I was 15, I snuck out, me and my friend, my cousin, and she told me that we looked behind us and it was the biggest wolf I ever seen. You ain't no wolves, man, in Oklahoma, not where we're at. And she said this thing was, showed his teeth, said it was humongous. And we took off running, but she said after that, when he got to the house, it was gone. And I'll tell this encounter too. I think I told it on Daniel's show. She said she was,
Yeah.
9 years old. And her mom kicked her out, and she had a big butane tank. So she's sitting on a butane tank, I guess all mad and stuff. And that's when she looked and seen 3 scarecrow figures, demonic looking scarecrows. And she said it was like the daddy, the mama, and the kid coming at her. I said, what did you? She said it was coming towards me, and she explained it all. But the whole point of that is there's so much activity is going on, and I don't understand why it happens in like the Native American burial mounds, and stuff like that. I don't get that, why it happens. Is it something that dramatic happened to them and they just, or is it, or did they pick and choose that land to go on because they knew it was supernatural?
Well, I mean, just look at the history of the U.S. and the
Yeah,
Native Americans.
awful,
So
awful, man.
exactly. I mean, who? I mean, if that was done to my family,
Yeah,
I think my spirit
yeah,
would be trying to do everything I could to get back at them.
yeah,
You know.
yeah, exactly.
Yeah, man. It's. I think. I think the Louisiana, Northeast Texas, Arkansas, Oklahoma.
yeah,
I think there's a lot more going on here than people realize.
yeah, there is.
I mean, I am hearing more and more from around here.
Mhm.
I think people are opening up more about it.
Yeah,
But there's a lot going on, and my most recent encounter was in 2020, back
uh,
during COVID. You know, um, it was June of 2020, so COVID had just ended. The shutdown had just ended.
yeah,
Not too long before that, we took a trip up to Arkansas, a little bit north of Hope. I
yeah,
mean, I'm sure you
yeah,
know where Hope,
yeah,
Arkansas is.
yeah,
And we went camping. I took the family up there camping, and the second night we were there, we were going to be there for a week, spend the whole week camping. We brought everything, all the supplies we needed, everything. We were going to
yeah,
be there a week, but the second night we were there, the kids were asleep, and the wife and I were just laying there, and we start hearing loud bipedal footsteps, like you could almost loud enough you could feel them
yeah.
every time it stepped, going around the tent, and the
Wow.
most uneasy feeling. I mean, the whole time we were there, it was relaxed, but the most uneasy feeling. It eventually, it made kind of a half circle around the tent, and then walked, and we could hear it walk off.
Yeah,
And after a while, we finally went to sleep. We didn't talk about it or say anything about it, but we kind of nudged each other, like, you hear that? What is that? But the next morning, we talked about it a little bit. It wasn't like
yeah,
discussing like, oh, that was Bigfoot or anything. It was like, I don't know what that was, but I think we need to go. We both were in agreement with that.
yeah,
And I think because of the sound, the heaviness of the footsteps,
yeah.
it had to be a large creature.
Man.
And
Yeah, that's
so I couldn't find any footprints. I looked
yeah,
the next morning, but it was just that dewy grass, hard ground, so nothing stayed from a
Yeah.
foot. Like my footprints weren't gonna stay in,
Yeah.
So, but we decided we packed up that morning and left out. We just
Yeah.
we were
Yeah.
on it was like a rented campground. We
Uh-huh.
didn't even ask for for them to give us the money on the rest of the nights. We're just like, hey, we're ending it early. Keep the rest. We're going.
Wow.
We got out of there.
Yeah, man, because
That was
you gotta go by your gut, brother. You really do.
yeah,
And I'm sure there's things that probably happened to you. You look back and think about it. It was probably some kind of supernatural or cryptic. Because I've since I went down the rabbit hole last year, I'll think about things and I'll say, oh man, that was, you
yeah.
know,
You look back and you realize, man, this could have. You didn't think nothing of it back then. Well, it
yeah,
affected you a little bit for the moment.
yeah,
But after you go down the rabbit hole and start hearing these other experiences and descriptions,
yeah,
you start these things start popping back in your mind, in your
exactly.
head, like, oh wow, I
Yeah.
did that happened, yeah,
Yep,
happened to me
exactly.
too.
Exactly, man. But looky here, I appreciate you coming on here, Corey. I could have talked to you
Oh yeah, man.
for 3 hours, man, but
I hear
I
you.
know we
I
gotta
don't even know
go.
how long we've been on here,
I
man.
don't know, about an hour and 32 minutes. Yeah, it don't
Oh,
matter.
okay, all
I
right.
enjoy talk. I've went
Nah, man.
2 hours before, but yeah, I appreciate it, man. I really do, and I'm glad to hear you seem like you're comfortable telling your stories, and talking.
Yeah, man.
And I think the more
It's
you,
getting the
yeah,
more I talk about them to because my wife knows all of them.
yeah,
My best friend, he knows all of them. We've shared experiences,
yeah,
but it's getting easier to talk to other people about it,
yeah,
and the more I talk, because there's several people I've met on these different podcasts that I jump in on the lives and stuff
yeah,
that we talk over on Facebook Messenger and stuff. Yeah,
yeah.
it gets a lot easier.
Yeah, it really does. But no, man, I appreciate it. Let me end this and then I'll talk to you. But I appreciate it, guys. I thank you, Corey, again. I appreciate everybody watching. And don't forget, guys, I've got a playlist of different interviews, some encounters, some other things, and also got a playlist of Whispers Across America where I go to each state telling 4 spooky folklore stories. So y'all guys check that out. But anyway, I appreciate it, guys. Until next time, peace out, everyone.